Welcome to the Facebook Live hosted by Technopark today and myself, Dr. Manu Melwin Joy. And today we are going to explore the unseen horizon of a very interesting topic. So to begin with, let me ask you a question. Imagine a normal workday of yours. You go to office at 9 a.m. in the morning and spend time till 6 p.m. in the evening. And you do enter into the normal routine activities, just like attending meeting, going through the reports, creating new files, and much more. And in the evening, when you come out of the office, what do you tell yourself? Terrible, so stressful, I can't take it anymore. And it goes on and on and on. So, you come out of the office in the evening, completely drained of energy, enervated. Even though you are paid for your work, even though you are working in a reputed firm, even though you are doing a work that you are comfortable with, these are not enough to keep you motivated. But after the work hours, you are an entirely different person altogether. Most of us enroll in gyms to stay ourselves fit. Many of us involved in sports activities just like football, cricket, or badminton. We spend lots of money in those activities as membership fee, as buying accessories, and many more. Apart from that, the time and energy we spend on each one of these activities, that is huge. We spend the entire day working on it, putting a lot of energy in it. And at the end of the day, we come out energized, invigorated, and wanting for more. This is the biggest puzzle faced in human motivation that is addressed in the book written by Mr. Charles A. Kundrent, titled The Work of Play, How to Enjoy Work as Much as Play. In that he asks a very pertinent question. He asks, why do people pay money for the privilege of working hard in a chosen hobby or an activity compared to the work that we do for which we are paid for? And the answer is games. From time immemorial, games have captured the imagination of millions of people across the globe. History is rife with lots of examples of kings who have succeeded in wars by making battle just like a game, and by surviving the famine by just like making the citizens playing a game so that they will forget about hunger. So games are really powerful. Psychologically speaking, according to the disease self-determination principle, games are so powerful because it satisfies the three basic human needs. Competence, that is, we want to be best in what we do. Second, relatedness. We want to relate with our fellow beings in an unconditional way. And third, autonomy. We want to be in charge of whatever we do. But what is happening in our day-to-day life? And what is happening in our workplace where we spend most of our time? It is in our workplace. Very seldom we feel under control or we feel in charge, and that results in our frustration. And if you want to experience competence, there should be progressive difficulty. As we move on, the challenges should be attractive for us, and that should be supplemented by instant feedback. And that seldom happens in our workplace, and that makes us emotionally drained. And when it comes to relatedness, our office spaces are full of shallow relationship and formal talks that never satisfies our need to have unconditional relationship or connection with our fellow beings. But why games are so powerful? Because it satisfies all the three needs of us human beings. We get an opportunity to be competent, and we feel that we are under control, and we have an unconditional opportunity to be connected with each other. So the billion-dollar question is how we can use the power of games in our day-to-day context, in our business context, to get our customers and employees engaged. So I am going to share with you two stories to drive in the point that games can be used to get connected to our employees and customers. The first story is about Siemens. And in 2010, the internal communication department of Siemens, they were facing a Herculean challenge. In fact, lots of challenge. How to create brand awareness. How to reach out to prospective engineers. How to create awareness about among the employees about the scope of the organization. How to attract the talent, engineers, and how to cultivate around a fictitious character called Pete, the plant manager. Pete got awarded as the best plant manager last year. And throughout the game, Pete will be hand-holding the players for doing many tasks and learning the basic concepts of operations management. So, throughout these sessions, Pete will be there to help us. The players are given with a very sick plant which is underperforming in all aspects, and they have to work to make it up to the standard in terms of all key performing indicators like safety, timely delivery, quality, and much more. So they have succeeded in doing it. Just a second. Lisa, please don't make any noise, okay? So, because I just was hitting a lot of disturbance from my next room, that's why. Sorry for the interruption. So, and plan bill. So, Pete gives a lot of puzzle in between, and the puzzles given by Pete were interspersed with lot of hands-on activities to solve practical problems and issues related to plant management. To help them, they have a Planville cafe wherein they can interact with each other. The plan managers of different plans come and interact with each other and share the problems that they face. And that will be saved in the archive as a library for future reference for the employees. And what was the result of Planville? The 23,000 people, engineering professionals, right from this inception, played Planville. And all of them have played at least 14 minutes of the game from the moment they have entered the site. That means at any point of time, anywhere, somewhere, someone is playing Planville. And these players include professionals from 11,500 organizations, students from 600 universities, and employees, almost 3,500 employees of Planville. And that has helped a lot in improving the brand awareness and brand value of Siemens. The CEO of Siemens said that it has helped to reach out to the potential employees like school students, and that will help not only Siemens but to have an awareness about the scope of manufacturing industry. That is the story of Siemens. The second story is about McDonald's. McDonald's created a unique gamification to increase its product sales, and that they did with the help of integrating it with a traditional board game called Monopoly. Monopoly is a game that is very identifiable for each one of us, especially in United States. And what they did was, each time when people go to the McDonald's and buy things, they will get a ticket. Each ticket means they will get a particular portion of the Monopoly board. And what they have to do is, they have to collect tickets of the same color until they can buy a portion, which will be supplemented with many different rewards. I would say that McDonald's have been very successful in integrating gamification in their sales of products. They have disrupted the traditional game of Monopoly and used it to give an entirely different experience to the customers. And since it is not played across the year, it is played in a particular portion of the time or the year, people were running to the McDonald's shows to get the ticket. And this success can be attributed to many different reasons, because Monopoly is a game that everybody could relate with. Most of us have played Monopoly during their childhood days. So it brought childhood memories, a lot of nostalgia. And they were familiar with the game, so there is no need of educating them or explaining about the rules and regulations about this. It was nothing new to them. And the joy of getting a lot of rewards and acquisition, that captured the imagination of people. So when it comes to huge rewards, the big winners, they will get prizes such as smartphones or Delta vacation prices, and instant winners will get Redbox rentals, Hulu, encashing, and many more. So this particular gamification was very rewarding for McDonald's, because in 2010 their market share increased by 5.6% just in United States as a result of this gamification, by integrating the traditional board game of Monopoly into the marketing of McDonald's. because both are related to being together with people, being fun, and a place where you can be yourself, you can relax. So it went hand in hand. So this is how gamification or games can create wonders in the world. So you might be wondering, what is the connection between games and gamification? Are these two same terms or are they different? Or if they are different, what is the difference? So next we are going to discuss about the point, what is gamification? The simple definition of gamification says, gamification is to make things game-like, to make it interesting. I will repeat. Gamification definition: doing exercise daily. We write it in our notebook, we include it in our reminders, and we are so determined to do exercise daily for the next 1 year. And just rewind the previous years and what has happened. It is a very sad story. We know, or apart from few determined souls, all of us succumb to the temptation. We are not able to keep it ahead or keep it up for maybe a few days, weeks or months. And because doing exercise daily is an activity that needs a lot of motivation, and it is very tough to have that kind of motivation. So let's make it interesting. Dancing is a good way. Then doing things together. When we do things as a group, obviously that will help us a lot. Then what else? Competition. When we compete with each other, that also will help us a lot. So there are different multiple ways in which you can make things game-like to make it interesting. So let's look into the example of a multinational company who has made millions of dollars, millions of loyal customers just by making running or exercise like a game to make it interesting. I will give you a clue about the company that we are going to talk about. It is the largest sports selling company in the world, and the logo of the company is called swoosh. Yes, you guessed it right. It is Nike. So Nike is a term that is ingrained in the psyche of Americans and from people across the world. For years, they have been motivating people to just do it and stay active. But their climb to the top, it was not a cakewalk. In 2005, they were the leader in the sports shoe segment. But they were getting tough competition from other competitors like Adidas, Under Armour, and many other companies. So they were forced to do something remarkable, unique, and unimagined by the competitors to keep their stardom intact. So in 2006, Nike integrated gamification into their running process. They launched a gamification initiative called Nike Plus. The intervention was very simple. They kept an accelerometer inside the sole of the shoe. So, just by that activity, running became more like a game. How? Instant feedback is one aspect that makes a game interesting, because you know whether he has hit a 6, you know whether it is a goal or not the next hour, the very moment itself you will know. That is the interesting aspect of a game. When you are playing a video game, whether you have taken the right step, you will move to the next level. If you are taking the wrong step, you will lose your life and you will stay in that level itself. Instant feedback is a great attraction for games. And by putting an accelerometer inside the sole of the shoe, Nike has brought in instant feedback, because when I run now, immediately I can know how fast I am running, how far I am running, how many calories I am burning. Because we are living in a world of instant gratification. We want everything the very next moment. So we don't have to wait for 1 month and stand in the weighing machine to know whether I have burned the calories. I can know now and there. That is instant feedback. And next, to keep people alive, Nike understood that this particular activity, running activity, needs a lot of motivation, because without a partner, without a mentor, without some people around, it is very tough to move ahead. So that is why people find it very tough to keep the momentum, and at the end they will drop off, or some people, they even don't start. So the key feature of Nike Plus was competition and challenge. Very often Nike throws in many different challenges. The 10-kilometer challenge, 20-kilometer challenge, 30-kilometer challenge. You can grab the challenge, and that moment onwards you are on the challenge. And every day you will get feedback on how well you are proceeding towards the challenge. Just like the deadline, you can see you are just 5 kilometers away from completing your challenge. You are just a stone's throw away from completing the challenge. And they pump in the competitive aspect of that. You can see, are your friends accepted the same challenge? You can see how well they are moving ahead. And the Nike Plus will give you suggestions on what you have to do to surpass your friends. So even though you may forget, but they will remind you, come on, John is working out. John has ran 2 kilometers today. And if you don't run today, you won't be able to catch up with him. With this message, I am determined. Yes, I don't want to be in the back. I want to compete and I want to surpass him. This competitive spirit is used for the better in Nike Plus. And there will be a leaderboard, and the top players will be well appreciated in the leaderboard. And you can see the leaderboard, the numbers coming up and down, and it is very, very transparent. And by incorporating the competition and challenge, Nike Plus get into the real motivational aspect of the runners or the users. And after some time, it is very natural that our motivation wears off. The new app, the attraction is no more there. And what will make them stay awake with that particular determination of running or physical activity? That is about celebrating progress, because as human beings, we want to be better every day. So Nike Plus gives a lot of indicators to show whether we are progressing or not. There will be different milestones. So you took up a 10-kilometer challenge, but the celebration happens the moment you have completed 1 kilometer. There will be a big hue and cry. Yes, you have done it. You have completed the first 1 kilometer. Good job. Great. And this appreciation pours in. And do you know, there is an exclusive avatar called Nike Plus Mini to keep you motivated. Each time when you reach a milestone, each time when you get something, do something unique, Nike Plus Mini will jump over the places and appreciate you. Well done. Good job. You are remarkable. Your determination and consistency is phenomenal. So that companionship will help people to stay awake and move ahead. That is celebrating progress. And next is relatedness. Nike Plus has an aspect called social. In Nike Plus Social, imagine you completed the 20-kilometer challenge. It gives you an opportunity to celebrate. You can share it in your Facebook, Instagram, and whichever social media you are in. You can showcase it to your friends, relatives, neighbors, colleagues, and you can brag about your unique achievement. Apart from that, it also gives you an opportunity to have hashtags like Go Active. Many global hashtags are happening. Or it gives you an opportunity to create one of your own. Autonomy. So you have to look into that in the perspective of disease determination theory. There is autonomy, there is relatedness, there is competence and challenge. Fine. So it covers the social aspect of the human beings also. Then we have auto-guided run. For example, I am preparing for a marathon. I am clueless about how to prepare, how much to run, what are the physical activities that I have to involve, how to warm up, what are the food that I have to take, everything step by step. I am clueless. But for the kind of physical activity or goal that you set, you will get an audio guided assist. The top trainers in the world will help you in reaching or what you call getting to that particular objective. Every day they will give you a feedback on, yes, this is what you have done well, this is the area where you have to improve, and they will literally handhold in each of the activities that you do. And imagine, so that is about audio guided runs. Then we have Nike Plus Places. That means imagine you are into a new town, but you don't want to stop the activity of running. But you don't know where to run. You are not familiar with the running places there. So what you can do is plus Nike Plus Places, and it will show you a heat map and the regular running paths in that particular place, and you can opt for it, and that you can add into your running path. So if you are going to different parts of the world, you can see that your running path spans different countries. So it is also a very big attraction for people. Then Spotify, as we discussed previously, or many of us prefer music when we run. The kind of music will add a lot of spirit and happiness to the activity. So Nike Plus has integrated Spotify and Apple Music into their application so that you can run with listening to your favorite musician or favorite band or favorite song. Otherwise, you can opt for a curated list of songs that is provided by Nike Plus. So this also is about autonomy, giving customers full charge. Then it's about Nike Fuel. Nike Fuel is the universal currency for physical activity. So whatever we do, we will collect Nike Fuel points. And the more the Nike Fuel points, the better will be your stature in the Nike family. So whatever you do, you will collect Nike Fuel points. And so it is the universal currency for physical activity. The recent addition of Nike Plus gamification was Nike Fuel missions. That is, you will get a lot of missions in which deliberately you can collect Nike Fuel points. And in between, you will get guided help by a lot of leading athletes across the globe like Roger Federer, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, many people. And with the help of them, they will give you suggestions on what kind of products that you have to buy and what you should do. So, and you will have levels, just like a video game. There are multiple levels in Nike Plus. It starts with 150 kilometer club and it goes till 15,000 kilometer club. So think about a person. He has a particular correct goal where he has to reach. And there are different badges that people can collect as they take it ahead. So each time when you complete something, if you run continuously for 1 month, you will get a badge. If you complete a 20-kilometer challenge, you will get a badge. If you take up a unique community activity, you will get a badge. If you kickstarted a hashtag globally, you will get a badge. So when you look into the page of the app, it will be rife with enough reasons for you to get motivated. So this is how Nike gamified the running activity. So what is the result? The result is phenomenal. In 2007, 5 lakh people were using Nike Plus. And in 2011, it became 11 lakh. And it has gone higher and higher. So currently 28 million active users of Nike Plus is there. So the benefit was twofold. People, they were able to get their fitness goals achieved. They were able to stay motivated and they are able to feel good about themselves. And from the Nike perspective, they were able to reach out to the customers. They were able to get the loyalty of the customers. So it is a win-win situation. And that has changed the industry because many of the competitors has taken it ahead. If you take the case of Adidas, they have a gamification called My Coach. My Coach is an app in which you will get very personalized suggestions from the coaches across the world based on the activities that you take. Puma, they have a live leaderboard to help us be an after work or after our hero. So these are all the different examples of how organizations have gamified the running activity. So that was about the first definition of gamification. That means how to make things game-like to make it interesting. That is how Nike made running like a game to make it interesting. They sold billions of shoes just because of this gamification. So this is something which we can't afford to ignore. And next is a standard definition of gamification. What is the standard definition of gamification? It has 3 parts. Gamification is the use of game elements and game design techniques in a non-gaming context. I will repeat. Gamification is the use of game elements and game design techniques in a non-gaming context. So let's dissect each of these aspects now. First, game element. Now let me ask you a question. Think about the most popular game in the world, football. It is a celebration when it comes to FIFA World Cup. And can you think about what are the different elements that makes this game of football interesting? What makes you watch football, play football, and get addicted to that game? Many things will pop up in your mind. I will tell some of those. First is teamwork, because when in a FIFA World Cup, you associate yourself with different countries, and the kind of team spirit that we all hold and how we cheer our favorite team, that itself is phenomenal. Team spirit. And second is unpredictability. That is the biggest catch of any game, because you can see when two giants are competing, when Brazil is competing with Germany or Argentina, when they are equals, you won't know who will win, because if a top team is playing with a very weak team, there is no challenge because it is almost predictable, the result. But unpredictability makes the game very interesting. Next is about the scoreboard. See, there is a scoreboard, there is a leaderboard, there are rules and regulations. You know the rules and regulations, and the rules and regulations make the game interesting. And finally, it's a very strange fact when it comes to game elements. It is constraint. Think about playing a game. Imagine you are given all the resources and all the time in the world to play the game. It is so boring. But in limited time, with limited resource, if you are asked to do it, then it becomes interesting. Resource constraint and time constraint. In the football, imagine if all the 11 players are given a football. It is so boring. But they have only one ball, and they have to manage that ball, and they have to kick it inside the goalpost. All these are constraints. And time constraint, they can't take the entire day. It is just 90 minutes. So all these are different game elements that make that game interesting. And the same game elements can be seen across all games. Let's take the case of a video game. Ambers and Allies is a social game that people play in Facebook, and it is created by Zynga. So Ambers and Allies is about modern warfare. You will be given a kingdom, you will be given different resources just like oil, rock, wood. You have to build an empire, you have to defend your empire from the enemies. And if you look into the window, if you open the window wherein you play the game, you can see many of the game elements that you see in a game of football. There will be points, there will be a leaderboard, there is unpredictability, there is a time constraint because you are given a time, within this time you have to complete this task. And there is a resource constraint because at times you will not get the right kind of resources to defend your country. So the same game elements can be used across all the games. It is universal. And how many game elements are there? Gamified UK, the organization, they have come up with a periodic table of gamification, game elements. And in that, they have mentioned more than 50 different game elements. And all these game elements can be used to make the people motivated or create excitement among the individuals. And Mr. Kevin Verbach, he is a professor who runs a gamification course in Coursera. He is from University of Pennsylvania, Wharton's Business School. And in his book, All to Win, he says that there are 3 different levels of game elements. That means game elements are not all the same. It has a hierarchy. Some game elements are more valuable or important than others. And he calls it the pyramid of game elements. In the bottom, we have components, middle we have mechanics, and top we have dynamics. Let me explain dynamics. Dynamics is about the grammar. It is the most important part of the game concept, because it is about the big picture. For every game there should be a story, there should be different roles, and there should be an end objective. Then only the lower level game elements will make sense. Why to get points, why to get badges, why to move other levels, to reach there, to achieve something. Let's take the case of the game of Super Mario. In Super Mario, the basic theme is, the narrative is save the princess. So you get points, you move to the next level, you compete and overcome all the hurdles to get the princess, to reach out to the princess. Without that end objective, these points and levels are meaningless. And there are different roles. Hero Mario, the heroine is the princess, and the villain is Bowser. So these are the higher level game elements that comes under dynamics. And the second level game elements are mechanics. It is the verb part, what they have to do. For achieving this, they have to go for resource collection. They will have different challenges. They have to compete, because in Mario, he has to run across the mushroom kingdom and to collect different resources. When you collect different resources, he will become big, he will become strong, and he has to overcome a lot of challenges put in by the villain Bowser. And the lowest level game element are components. It is the noun. That is about points, badges, and leaderboards. So this is the hierarchy of game elements, and by intelligently using it, you can make a big difference. Many times gamification is sometimes backfire, because you only consider this lower level game elements. You put some points, badges, and leaderboards, and to try to gamify it, it will not work. You should have a big picture. You should have the higher level of game elements in place to make these lower level elements meaningful. So that is about the first part of the standard definition, game elements. The second part of the standard definition is game design techniques. Let me ask you a question. How many parts are needed to make a car, including the nuts and bolts? Just give a thought for that. Some may think that it's 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, but it is 30,000. Imagine if you put all those parts together, will we get a car? No. There should be an intelligent design behind it. Similarly, if we put all these game elements together, we won't get a gamification. There should be an intelligent design behind it. So, gamification experts, they have taken design principles from different disciplines and integrated it into the gamification concept. I will give you 2 examples. First, some have taken the design principle of golden ratio from architecture. Golden ratio is related to Fibonacci series. It is 1:1.648. And it is about aesthetics. You can see it in the number of leaves in a plant, or in a beautiful architecture, or in a painting. They use this particular principle when they design a video game to fix the architectural height, the height of the building, and the eyesight of the player, to give him an idea of a real-time sense of playing the game. Next, from animation, the 12 animation principles shared by Walt Disney. One important animation principle is anticipation, action, and reaction. Invariably, you can see it in all the cartoons. For example, a boxer, if he pulls his fist back, it is anticipation. And the action is hitting, and the falling back is reaction. So anticipation, action, and reaction is a part and parcel of animation. And we adopt it, and in a game, if you do this, this will happen to the villain, this will happen to the beast, and you will get points. So these are the ways in which we integrate different design principles to make it very interesting. And finally, we had game elements, game design techniques, and the last part of the standard definition is non-gaming context. If you take these game elements, integrate game design techniques, and put it in a context other than games, then we'll get a gamification. What are the non-gaming context? I will give you a few examples. First, gamification for customer engagement. You might have heard about Autodesk. What they are into? They are into making 3D modeling softwares. And they were facing a big problem. Every time when a 3D movie is out, people are very excited to learn 3D modeling. They buy the software and start using the software to learn 3D modeling. But the problem is they realize 3D modeling is really tough and they leave it halfway. So how to create more engagement among the customers? How to make them complete learning 3D modeling? Because only if they do this, then they can sell the next model, the next level, and create advanced customership. Therefore, what they did was, this software, 3D modeling software, educational software, they gamified it. That means when I am buying that software, downloading it, and started using it, I am playing a game. I am a detective traveling across the world to collect many artifacts, many valuables. And when I travel across the world, while I am playing the game, each time if I want to do something, if I want to unlock a resource, I have to learn an aspect of 3D modeling, like designing an object, rotating it, burning it, and surprisingly, after 1 or 2 months, when you complete playing the game, you are a 3D modeler. And the result was phenomenal. The game is called Apocalypse. What was the result? Autodesk, they were able to increase the time people spent on the software by 40%, which was phenomenal. And that led to an increase in the sales of the software by 17%. Gamification for customer engagement. Next, gamification for employee engagement. DWP, Department of Works and Pension, is the biggest governmental organization in the United Kingdom. It accounts to 30% of the overall governmental spending, and it employs tens of thousands of people. And they decided to gamify, to get the best ideas from people to take DWP to the next level. What they did was, they asked people to give suggestions on the things that they think will make DWP more efficient. And each suggestion was captured in a software. It is just like a virtual stock market. If I give an idea, my idea will be like a stock in the virtual stock market. And my colleagues, my fellow workers can buy and sell my idea. So based on the value of the idea, based on the public opinion, based on the polls, you can see the good ideas going up the stock value increases. So see how heartening and exciting it will be, like your stock value going up. So people started contributing vehemently new ideas. And the result, within 3 months, they were able to collect 1,500 ideas, which was worth 90 million pounds of saving for DWP. That is gamification for employee engagement. Next, gamification for research. Research and games, it's completely contradicting. But take it from me, this is the best example of gamification. For 15 years, the top scientists in the world, they were trying to crack the crystal structure of an AIDS-causing virus, but they failed miserably. But in 2012, the University of Washington, Washington's biotechnology department worked with the game design department and came up with a game called Fold It. If you want to crack the crystal structure, you have to do something called protein folding. Not once or twice, billions of times. And this folded game is designed in such a way that the players have to do this protein folding till they get the right crystal structure of the protein. And do you know what happened? With the help of 50,000 players and in 10 days, Fold It cracked the crystal structure of an AIDS-causing virus, which the top scientists in the world were not able to do for 15 years. Yes, you heard me right. And the even interesting fact is, half of the players, they were not from the science background. So what they were doing was Greek and Latin for them, but they are a part of a path-breaking scientific discovery. So the next big idea is not going to come from the elite few people. It's going to come from each one of us. Gamification is going to democratize the innovation process. That is gamification in research. Next, gamification in education. Mr. Tim Vandenberg is the number 2 Monopoly player in the United States. We said Monopoly was a traditional board game. And he also happened to be a teacher in a school in California. The economic background of that school was very bad. The kids were from poor family background. Many of the parents were in jail, and the kids were not so motivated to learn. He integrated the knowledge of Monopoly to the subjects that he was teaching, that is economics and maths. And he started using Monopoly game to teach kids about probability, permutation and combination, buying, selling, and much more. And the result? Across the United States, especially in California, there is a prestigious California maths test that will happen, and only the brilliant, brightest of the people can clear it. And nobody has cleared that test from this particular school in the last 10 years. But once he started doing it, integrating playing Monopoly in teaching students in the concepts of maths, many kids from that school started clearing the prestigious California maths test, which was remarkable. So that is gamification in education. And next is gamification in healthcare. How many of you have gone through physiotherapy? The name itself is horrific if you have gone through one. It is a very painful and repetitive process. If you are going through what you're doing physiotherapy for your hands, you have to do some exercise maybe mindlessly 100 times, 500 times, and it is very painful. And when you are dealing with kids, it is almost impossible to make them do. And this is very crucial for recovery. So there is no other go, there is no other option. So healthcare professionals were struggling a lot with this problem. And then they narrowed down and found out a gamification solution called Mira. Mira is a game in which you have a big screen and the patients are made to stand or sit in front of the screen. And you play the game. And it is just like a device attached to your hand, and when you move your hand you can see the things in the screen also moving, and when you do this you see you are playing the game. And when you are playing the game you are moving, making all the game is designed in such a way that while playing the game they have to make all the movements that they have to do in the physiotherapy. And as a result of that, the recovery rate of the patients increased. And when it comes to kids, they were looking forward to play this game. So physiotherapy was no longer a painful process or a boring process. It became an exciting activity. So that is gamification in healthcare. So this section we discussed about the two definitions of gamification. We answered what is gamification. The first definition was to make things game-like, to make it interesting. And the second one was the gamification is the use of game elements and game design techniques in non-gaming context. And the next part is why gamification? This particular question I would like to answer in three different levels. Three different perspectives: the global perspective, the organizational perspective, and the individual perspective. Why in global perspective gamification is important? Why gamification is inevitable for organization? And why gamification is the need of the hour for an individual? So first let's start with the global perspective. Let me ask you a question. Can you tell me one word to describe today's world? One word to describe today's world. Many will come up with many different words. Technology, change, crisis, fast, chaos. The answers are many. But I would like to introduce to you an acronym called VUCA. You might have heard about VUCA. So VUCA is an acronym of the four words volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And this is a term introduced by US Army, because US Army, when they went to Iraq and Afghanistan, they were having a unique problem, because a soldier who is in a war zone, he is facing a different kind of environment. Nothing can be predicted. What will happen the very next moment? He is clueless. The next step of his will be on a mine, and he will get a gunfire from the back. So there should be a concrete strategy to make him survive through the war zone. And for that strategy, you have to define the environment that he is in. So to define such an environment, they termed VUCA. VUCA is an environment of a soldier in a war zone. After a few decades, something strange happened. A term which is used in a military context is now used in a day-to-day context. Can you tell me why? Yes, you guessed it right. Because we are also no different from a war zone. When we are in the office, when we are in the society, when we are at home, we are fighting a war and we have to fight it. So that is how VUCA is very relevant nowadays. We are living in a VUCA world. And let's look into the four words now. Volatility. Volatility is about the fast change that is happening in this world. Can you tell me in how many years television got 50 million users? Television got 50 million users in 75 years. And radio got 50 million users in 38 years. Television, I think a telephone got 50 million users in 75 years. Radio, 38 years. Television, 13 years. Facebook, internet, 4 years. Facebook got 50 million users in 3.5 years. And can you guess in how much time Angry Birds, the game, got 50 million users? It is 35 days. So something which took 75 years to happen is now happening in a matter of 35 days or even 1 day. That is the maddening pace in which the world is moving now. And if we don't adapt, if we don't change, you will sink like a stone. Another question. What Sony did to Kodak? When Sony did something, Kodak sank like a stone. Yes, correct. Digitalization. Kodak, they were into film camera making, and Sony came with digital cameras and took away the market of Kodak. Kodak became bankrupt. But do you know what is the biggest irony? Which is the company that filed the first patent for digital cameras in 1977? It was done by the Kodak engineer Steven Sasson. But they were making so much money from film cameras so that they didn't do anything with the patent of digital cameras. So if we don't change, adapt, you will be just like Kodak. One more question. Again, in the similar line, which company filed patent for the first computer in 1973? You may think that it is IBM, Apple, Microsoft. No, it is not a company that we associate with computers. It is Xerox. But Xerox, they were making so much money from photocopiers that they didn't do anything. And they had a person, Steve Jobs, visit their lab, and the Steve Jobs saw Xerox Alto. He was amazed by that equipment. And after a few years, he came up with Macintosh, and rest is history. So, one more question. What Apple did to Sony? Sony, the hit product was Walkman, and Apple, they came with iPod and took away the market of Sony. So Sony never thought that IT firm like Apple will take away their market. All these stories tell us one important point. Change is inevitable. And if you don't adapt, if you don't change, there is no survival. And what is the one thing that all organizations should do nowadays? I would say it is cannibalization. Cannibalization is killing your own product or market. For example, Sandro. Hyundai was making a lot of money with Sandro. And at that point, they introduced Sandro Sing. By introducing Sandro Sing, they killed Sandro. But that is how you can stay alive. Why do you think the mobile companies are coming up with a new model every 6 months or 1 year? They know that they are killing the previous model by the introduction of new model. But that is the only way in which you can stay alive. That is why Steve Jobs said, if you don't cannibalize yourself, somebody else will. So that is the V of the VUCA world, volatility. And next is complexity. So Nassim Nicholas Taleb, he was with Wall Street for 25 years. His job was to predict the ups and downs of the top companies in the world. He used to devise computer models to predict things. And at the end of 25 years of his career, he wrote a book called Black Swan. And in that book, the major statement made by him is nothing can be predicted. So black swan is a metaphor. Imagine you are researching among swans, and initially you saw 10 swans and all 10 were white. And you saw 100 white swans, 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, and after seeing 10 lakh white swans, you assume that all swans are white. That is how predictions are done. This is how the company has done in the previous years, and this is how they will do. But imagine the next day when you came out of your house, there you see a black swan, and all your assumptions of this 10 lakh sighting, it goes off the window. So black swan is a rare but high impact event that will change our world upside down. COVID pandemic, that is a black swan. Nobody predicted that our kids will have online classes. Nobody predicted that mask will be a part and parcel of our day-to-day attire. Internet, it was a positive black swan, and the 2008 recession, it was a negative black swan. So we should have a black swan mindset. That is what Taleb says. And he gives another beautiful metaphor. In Western countries, there is a tradition called Thanksgiving. And before Thanksgiving, you grew a Thanksgiving turkey. You feed the turkey for 3 to 4 months. And imagine from the turkey's point of view, you are feeding the turkey every day. So the turkey will think that the human beings are so nice, so generous, just before the day of the Thanksgiving, because it will be butchered. So if we don't have a black swan mindset, this is what happened. I recently read that blockchain or cryptocurrency will change the way in which the banking will be done in the next 5 years. But 40% of the bank employees, they have never heard about blockchain. So they will be just like this Thanksgiving turkey. One fine day, their entire industry is turned upside down and they are clueless. So that is uncertainty. Volatility, V, U, uncertainty. And C is complexity. Have you heard about butterfly effect? Butterfly effect is about the, metaphorically you can say that if a butterfly flutters its wings, it creates a tornado in the other part of the world. Chaos theory. A small event happening in a remote part of the world can have a big impact on each one of our lives. Let me give you an example. Have you heard about Mr. Mohammad Bouazizi? No chance, because he is no famous person. He was a normal street vendor in Tunisia. He was fed up with the military regime there. They were imposing a lot of tax on common people. And one day he decided to rebel by committing suicide. He set himself ablaze in front of the government office. And what happened? His suicide captured the anger of the youth of the country. The video and the picture became viral in the social media. And the dictator Ben Ali, he was forced to step down. This went across the Middle East, where similar dictators were ruling, and that led to the Arab Spring or the Jasmine Revolution, wherein many dictators were dethroned, like Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. But some dictators, they refused to step down, like Bashar al-Assad of Syria. That led to the civil war there, and many people were forced to immigrate to European countries. And when the immigration went out of control, the entire equation of the Europe went out of control, and that led to the global event of Brexit. So, if you look into the thread of events, and suicide by a normal street vendor in Tunisia has led to a global event of Brexit. That means we are living in a very complex world where everything is connected to everything else. And the last one is ambiguity. A for ambiguity. Can you tell me how much of data is created on a day? Give wings to your imagination, and even in the wildest guess, it is tough because we create 2.5 quintillion of data. To draw a parallel, it is enough to capture 10 million Blu-ray CDs. Just imagine the volume of data created. And 90% of the data that we have now is created in the past 2 years. And this is leading us to an information overload. We are living in an information overload or information polluted world. Pollution means out of this information, we don't know which is correct, which is wrong, which is true, which is fake. So this VUCA, we are living in a VUCA world. And the outcome of VUCA world is an engagement crisis. What is the engagement crisis? Microsoft recently came up with a study, and it says that you may spend millions of dollars on creating a website, but a user takes less than 10 seconds to decide whether to stay in that website or move to the next one. You have just a 10-second window to grab the attention of the user. Next, most of us watch television, but many of us use a mobile phone, a laptop or a mobile phone while watching television. So television is expected to be a distraction, but now we need a distraction within the distraction. That is the kind of distracted world that we are living in. Again, can you tell me how many times an average person checks his mobile phone? It is 150 times. That is every 6 minutes of a waking hour, we check our mobile phones. And that leads to an antisocial activity for which a new word is coined. It is called phubbing. Phubbing is the antisocial activity of ignoring the person sitting next to you to your mobile phone. And finally, can you tell me the average attention span of a human being? It is in 2010, the average attention span of a human being was 12 seconds. And the average attention span of goldfish is 9 seconds. And thanks to the smartphone revolution, now the attention span of a human being is 8 seconds. So in English, there is a usage called as dumb as a goldfish. But now we are getting dumber than a goldfish. So the point is, in this global perspective of VUCA world, where we are having a great engagement crisis to engage the customers, employees, learners, the key to engage them is gamification. Use the power of games. Use game elements and design techniques to grab their attention. Because our real competitors are Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. We have to grab the attention of the users, customers, employees from that to this. And this is the only way to make it happen. That is the global perspective of why gamification. Next is the organizational perspective of why gamification. Let me give you a scenario. As a HR manager, a project manager, I am concerned about the productivity of my employees. How to get the best out of people. How to make people enjoy their work. It is a holy grail for all the human resource professionals. Let me ask you a question. Imagine a situation in which you are doing something, maybe watching a television serial or preparing a report or involved in drawing, And when you are involved in that activity, you forget about what is happening around. You lose a sense of time and you get so involved in the activity that the hours glided. And after when you came out of the activity, you feel so happy and you thought, oh, how I spent so much time in this activity. All of us have some experience of experiences like this. This is a concept called flow. In psychology, it is known as the state of flow, and it is very, very relevant for optimal performance or improving productivity. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, he is one of the co-founders of positive psychology, and he is the first person to study in depth on the state of flow. He interviewed top athletes, painters, professionals, and these people from different countries, different geographies, different backgrounds, and invariably he found that all of them, when they were having in that peak productivity, they were in a state of flow. And he then researched on how you can make a person be in the state of flow. He came up with some characteristics of flow, like utmost concentration, effortlessness and ease, losing a sense of time, and our competence matching the challenge. So, and he came up with a graph. So I will explain to you very easily. Take the case of a game. How the game, so in the flow is very, very, very much happens in a game. Because in game, we are very focused, we are very effortless and at ease, and the time glides. Even if you play for 10 hours, it looks like 10 minutes. And so how we are able to play, so take the case of a video game. In the initial level, when you are playing the game, your competence is less and the challenge is high. And you play the game, you learn the tricks, and somehow your challenge, competence matches the challenge. So you are moved to the next level, wherein again, your challenge is much higher than your competence. And you work on and improve your competence, and when it reaches the same, you are moved to the third level. So the flow is achieved when you merge the gap between the competence and the challenge. If that stops, there is no flow. The flow is getting a higher challenge and struggling high to reach up the challenge. And the challenge should not be too tough so that we will get frustrated, or the challenge should not be too low. That is, we find it so easy or discouraged to do it. So that is why this progressive difficulty, this progressive gap between the competence and challenge, that is the reason why people were able to play Candy Crush, which has 5,000 levels. Because there is a gap between the challenge and the competence. And take our work life. When we started our work in the initial years, we were so excited. What was the reason? Because our competence was low and the challenge was high. And initially it was stressful, but we enjoyed it. And somehow we were feeling anxious, we were feeling worried, we were feeling arousal, and somehow we improved our competence to meet the challenge. And now we will feel relaxed and we feel comfortable. But the problem is, we are not experiencing flow. To experience flow, you have to go through this cycle again and again. That is, you take up a higher challenge when you feel worried, anxious and arousal. And when you master that challenge, you feel relaxed and comfortable. And when you are comfortable, something higher should come, just like in a game. And this should always be complemented by immediate feedback. And this should be there in our workplace. This challenge, optimal challenge which is not too hard, challenge which is not too easy, it is known as Goldilocks challenge. And using the concept of flow, by using optimal challenge given to the employees. That is why when you give different levels, when you give different badges and leaderboards, these are all instant feedback, progressive difficulty. These are all ways in which you can bring in flow in our workplace. And if you have flow in the workplace, employees will be involved in the work just like as they are in a game. They are too focused and they will be effortless and ease, and they will forget about the time. And after all the process, they will come out happily because they are in a state of flow. So how to make it happen? The only way is gamification. And the third perspective is individual perspective. There are many different benefits of playing games. And the first and the most important, you may say that it improves memory, it improves focus, it improves retention. But I would say that the best takeaway from playing a game is fluid intelligence. Have you heard about fluid intelligence? There is fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. Fluid intelligence is our ability to problem solve in situations we have never been before. This is our raw problem solving skills. It is about how we problem solve on the fly. It is contradictory to crystallized intelligence. Crystallized intelligence is about how we problem solve in situations we have been before and we have the answer to that particular problem. So in the 20th century, imagine about our fathers and great-grandfathers. They were, every day they were doing the same thing, the routine thing, and they know how to do it. So if we know things, if we had crystallized intelligence, you could have survived in the 20th century. But now, the situation is different. Every day, we are facing a new challenge. And the solution to that, we have to explore and find out. So if you want to survive in the 21st century, we need fluid intelligence. And how to build fluid intelligence? Ms. Andrea Kusweski has said 3 ways in which you can build fluid intelligence. The first way is seek novelty. Let me ask you a question. What is Einstein, Galileo, and Newton? Many things will pop up in your mind, like they are scientists, physicists, genius, school dropouts. But I would say that the biggest parallel between these people, the common denominator between these 3 people, it is a concept called polymath. All of them were polymaths. Who is a polymath? Polymath is a person who has not restricted himself to a particular discipline. They have tried to establish their expertise in many different disciplines. Take the case of Leonardo da Vinci, one of the greatest polymath the world has ever seen. His areas of expertise includes mathematics, geometry, sculpting, painting, cartography, and it goes on and on and on. And now the world needs people who are integrators. They look into many different fields and integrate the best thing in that field and dig deep into each field, come out with the best and integrate into their current context. For example, Mr. E.O. Wilson, he integrated the 2 different disciplines of sociology and biology and came up with sociobiology. Steve Jobs, he integrated design with software and hardware and came up with beautiful computers. So if you want to be integrators, if you want to be polymaths, you should do new things. And that is the best way in which you can build fluid intelligence. So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, when was the last time we did something for the first time? When was the last time we did something for the first time? So that is the first way of building fluid intelligence. The second way of building fluid intelligence is doing things the hard way. It may sound contradicting the conventional wisdom. That is, smart work we believe is better than hard work. But let me give you two contexts. Think about GPS. And what GPS has done to our spatial intelligence or our knowledge about the different places. I am a person with a terrible sense of direction, and it has gone worse after using GPS. So our brain has attributed the job of remembering places to the GPS and making the brain a lazy one. The classic example is that of autocorrect. If we do a research on the spelling knowledge of people before and after the introduction of autocorrect, obviously it would have gone for a nose drive. So, because when you type the word, immediately you will get different options and you just have to select. So there is no need of remembering the exact spelling of the words. This is a concept called cognitive offloading. Previously, we were able to remember 10 to 20 phone numbers, but now we are not able to remember our second phone number because our brain has offloaded that job to digital gadgets. Whatever is easy, it is given to the digital gadgets so that it can be lazy. Or digital amnesia. That is, all the knowledge which is easily retrievable, the brain tend to forget. And these are making our brain a lazy brain. So you have to do the things, you have to make the brain work. You have to make the brain work hard to make it fluid. And the third way to build fluid intelligence is networking. Imagine you went to a conference where in the conference hall you can see hundreds of people sitting down. And whom do you prefer to sit with? If you are like any other person, you tend to sit with a person whom you know, who is from the same discipline, same profession, who is from the same location, who talks the same language. But let me ask you a question. From which kind of people you will get a new idea, an innovative thought, an entirely different perspective. A person entirely different from you. So you should sit with a person who is a different profession, who talks a different language, who comes from a different part of the world. So that is why diversity is the buzzword now. Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba, has attributed the success of the company to the diversity in the board of directors. In his board of directors, there are many women, very unusual when you take the top companies in the world. And he has said that the women, their attention to detail and perseverance has added a lot of value to the success of the organization. That is why organizations are struggling or focusing too much on workplace diversity, because a diverse workplace is a place where a lot of different perspectives, ideas, thoughts come in, and the result will be phenomenal. That is the reason why Lenovo, they have a position called Chief Diversity Officer. So diversity, being with different kinds of people and letting your mind be open to all their thoughts, ideas and perspective, that is the third way in which you can build fluid intelligence. And if you look into these three, you can see a very strange thing. These are very well integrated while we play games. But in games, We are made to do different things at different times. Each time we have to do a different thing. To keep the user alive, they have designed different challenges in different parts of the game. And we have to do many things over and over and over again, doing things the hard way. And now, people are very interested in massive or multiplayer online games like PUBG, because we can play together. We can network with anybody across the globe. We can be with people with different, who are different. So the best way to build fluid intelligence is by playing games or be a part of a gamification. So whether you think in a global perspective or an organizational perspective or an individual perspective, gamification is indispensable. It is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And now let's move to the last part of this session. That is how we can gamify. Here I want to introduce the third definition of gamification, that is given by Kai Cho. According to Kai Cho, gamification is human-focused design. There are two types of design: function-focused design and human-focused design. And what is the difference? Function-focused design is focusing on the outcome, and human-focused design is on the process. For example, in an organization, function-focused design focuses on the profit, effectiveness, efficiency, or the turnover. And the human-focused design looks into the customer satisfaction or the employee engagement. So what happens to even though if you are the best company in the world having the best profitability index, if the customers are not satisfied, if the employees are not happy, it doesn't make sense. And when it comes to games, it's all about the user. It's all about the user motivation. That is why Mr. Gabe Sickerman, he is a stalwart in the field of gamification, and he said gamification is 75% psychology and 25% technology. So gamification is all about psychology, all about motivation. It's all about the human-focused design. And when you narrow down gamification to motivation, we think that motivation is something which is of common parlance. We know what is motivation. We have people talking about motivation around us. But it is time for us to have a paradigm shift about what is motivation. At this juncture, I would like to introduce a concept called Motivation 3.0. You might have heard about Industry 4.0. From Industrial 1.0 of steam engine to 2.0 about mass production to Industry 3.0 of information technology to Industry 4.0 of automation. The industry has grown, but accordingly the motivation also has transformed a lot. This Motivation 3.0 is a concept introduced by Mr. Daniel Pink in his path-breaking book, Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates People. So as managers, as HR professionals, it is a time for a soul searching to check whether do we still have the right understanding about what motivates people. So I would like to share the most important incident or an example shared by Mr. Daniel Pink in the book. He talks about a puzzle or a test called the candle problem. Candle problem is done worldwide to check the problem solving skills of a person. So this is the candle problem. You are taken to a room, and in the room you can see a table kept next to a wall. A table kept next to a wall, and on the table you can see a candle, a box of thumbtacks and a matchbox. A table next to a wall. On the table you can see a candle, a box of thumbtacks and a matchbox. Your job is to fix the candle to the wall so that when you light the candle, it doesn't fall to the table. Very simple. And so it is designed by Mr. Carl Dunger in 1930s. So people, they do different things. They start using the candle and using the thumbtacks to fix the candle to the wall, but it is not successful. And they started melting the other side of the candle and trying to fix that candle to the side of the wall. It also fails. And after 10 to 15 minutes of trying, they get the catch. The catch lies in a concept called functional fixedness. That is, they are said they have three things: candle, box of thumbtacks, and matchbox. But in reality, there are four things. The box of the thumbtacks, the box also is a thing. But most of us in the real time will consider that box as a holder of thumbtacks, not as something which help us add the solution. So you can take that box and you can fix it using thumbtacks to the wall and use it as a base to hold the candle. And when you light the candle, it doesn't fall to the wall, the table. So it can be used to solve the problem. That is functional fixedness. That is why in HBFC Bank, the cultural intelligence ad, in one ad, they found that the washing machine sales was very high in a particular part of India, in Punjab. And when the sales executive came, they were using the washing machine to make lassi. That is overcoming functional fixedness, because the washing machine is for washing clothes. Not necessarily. You can use it for any other purpose. That is the candle problem. But Mr. Sam Glucksberg, he decided to use this candle problem in a different context, in the context of motivation. So he selected two groups of people and he gave them this candle problem to solve. And for the first group, he said, you try to solve the problem in the best way possible. That is, you have to compete with yourself. And the second group, he said, if you solve the problem, I will give you money. So the first group, competing with themselves, was the motivation. And the second group, incentive or reward, was the motivation. And can you tell me which group succeeded? The incentive group took 3 minutes more than the competence group to solve the problem. So here, Mr. Sam Glucksberg was taken aback, because this is against the conventional wisdom. Because we think that if you give incentives, if you give money, if you give reward, the performance goes up. But here, it is the other way around. Why? He thought and thought and thought, deliberated. He slightly tweaked the candle problem. In the next batch, what he did was, he gave the box of thumbtacks separately and the thumbtacks separately. So now the problem became very easy. And now what happened? The incentive group performed better than the competent group. So he found that if you want people to do routine, mundane, no-brainer task, blue-collar job, incentives will motivate them. But if you want people to use their brain, to think out of the box, to come up with unique ideas, incentives won't work. You need something else. And nowadays, we don't want people to do what you want them to do. We want them to use their mind and come up with path-breaking ideas, new products, new ways of doing things. And if you want that to happen, this won't work. For this, we should know the three motivational evolution. Motivation 1.0, 2.0 and 3.0. Motivation 1.0 is about survival. For tens of thousands of years, we were driven by survival. And then came the biggest revolution of mankind, Industrial Revolution. And in the Industrial Revolution, we had motivation 2.0. That is, if you do the right thing, you will get reward. If you do the wrong thing, you will be punished. If you do it correct, you will get the carrot. If you do it wrong, you will get the stick. And unfortunately, even now, that is followed. So if you want to motivate the workforce of the today, if you want to survive in the VUCA world, the outdated tool of Motivation 2.0 won't help us. We want the different tool for Motivation 3.0. And what are the tools that help people get motivated? Daniel Pink says 3 things. It is purpose, mastery, and autonomy. Purpose is to have a big picture. We should know the impact of what we do. Second is mastery. We should grow. We should be better in what we do. And autonomy. We should be in full control of what we do. So today's employees, today's people need, what is the impact of what I do? Am I making a difference? Then, am I growing? Am I becoming a better person in what I do? And am I in charge? Do I have freedom and control of what I should do? And what is the relevance of it with gamification? I said Yukai Cho is an expert in gamification who said it is human-focused design. And the famous model of Yukai Cho is Octalysis model. And in the Octalysis model, he talks about 8 different core drives of gamification. And the top 3 core drives that he explains is synonymous with purpose, mastery, and autonomy. For purpose, he says epic meaning and control. For mastery, he says development and accomplishment. And for autonomy, he says ownership and possession. And he goes by saying scarcity, then empowerment of feedback, relatedness and social inclusiveness, loss aversion, all this will help us motivate people to play a game. And you can use gamification to make people do almost anything. So if you want to survive in the Motivation 3.0, if you want to take the best out of people, you have to gamify whatever you are doing. So it is just a matter of survival. If you want to survive, gamification is not a luxury, it is a necessity. So how to learn it? We are conducting regular training programs, usually beginners training program on gamification in learning and development, because the first place to start is learning and development. As I said, do we know motivation? Now we had a different perspective of motivation. So what is learning? Learning is a permanent change in behavior, and in simple terms, that is what we want. We want a change in behavior of customers, they should buy our product. We want a change in the behavior of employees, they should work their best. So if you want behavioral change, it is all about learning, and the best place to start is learning. So we run regular programs on gamification for learning and development. We invite each one of you to be a part of that program. That happens every now and then. And then we have so if you consider, just a minute, and we have intermediate and advanced programs in gamification. Okay, so in the advanced program, we discuss about the Octalysis model by Mr. Yukai Cho, the SAPS model by Gabe Zuckerman, that is the status, achievement, power and stuff model by gamification model by Gabe Zuckerman. We explore the different dimensions of fun, the anatomy of fun, introduced by Nicole Lazzaro. Google, it can the status of Google as the most innovative company in the world can be attributed to the fun-filled environment. And what is fun? Just like motivation, we should have a paradigm shift about fun. And Nicole Lazzaro has talked about the 4 types of fun. And then we have the meaningful play, the concept by Sebastian Detterning. The Gamification Curve by Dominic Mendrigo. So there are lots and lots of concepts, in-depth concepts. So gamification is a science. It is a discipline that all of us should master. And that is going to be the new language. Because in 2011, Mr. Al Gore, the Vice President of the United States, he was invited for a talk in the Games for Change conference. And his opening statement was this: gains are the new normal. So gamification is the new normal. Gamification is now a $1 billion industry. And almost 70% of the Fortune 500 companies have at least one gamified application already put into practice. In retail, we have Zappos. In enterprise, we have Cisco and Siemens. In enterprise, in entertainment, we have Warner Brothers and Disney. In healthcare, we have Aviva. In academics, we have Pearson. So everybody is gamifying. So the $1 billion question is, when I should gamify? Now or never. If you want to take your company to the next level, if you want to really make a difference, if you want to create a workspace where employees are thrilled, excited, and accelerated to work, if you want to make the job as addictive as PUBG, gamification is the answer. Gamification is a one-stop solution to all the problems faced by an executive. So it is high time that all of us embrace gamification. Let's together make world a better place. As I said in the scenario in the beginning, and when the moment I get up to the office at 9 p.m. and the next second it should be moment I enter at 9 a.m. the next second it should be 6 p.m. and we should come out of the office telling, whoa, what a day it was. It was so entertaining and it went just like the flick of a finger. So that is something we have to dream of. And every customer should have the experience of a lifetime, a roller coaster experience, just like what McDonald's did with Monopoly. So with these thoughts, I would like to wind up. It is almost 7. So if you have any clarification regarding gamification, we are there to help out. You can contact me, and I will share whatever knowledge I have. So together, let's make this world a better place. Before I would like to wind up, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Technology Today for giving me this wonderful platform. This is a great place where almost 60,000 people come, share their ideas, thoughts, and being a part of this great, wonderful, awesome community and spend some time with the best brains in the world. That is a unique privilege that I will cherish throughout my life. So once again, thanking to the entire Technopark Today community and to all the well-wishers of mine who has come here to support me, and all the people who are all geared up to be a part of the gamification revolution movement. I would like to say a big thanks from the bottom of my heart. With these words, I would like to end the session. Thank you.